here we are at CUPRAP with Gabriel Welsch. A friend of Volt has been on the podcast before with Jenny Lee Fowler and Heather Dotchell back in the day. I think it was the start of 2021. So welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Tell us about yourself, what you do, what your role is at Duquesne, so the audience can refresh with that.
So I'm the Vice President for Marketing and Communications at Duquesne University, which is located in Pittsburgh.
Sure.
And I oversee a team, that's pretty standard. It includes the web, includes media relations, marketing, storytelling, and so forth. And my job really is to integrate all of that so that we're putting our best story and our best foot forward for the students who will benefit from the education that we offer.
Fantastic. Storytelling's been a theme. It's been mentioned a number of times at CUPRAP and throughout the sessions. So what are some of the highlights of the sessions that you've been at so far at CUPRAP? What are some of the takeaways?
So I was just in a great session with the gentleman from Carnegie. You can't tell a story if you're not distinguishing yourself. There has to be a comparison for the story to matter, right? Yep. It's just like any other story. There has to be a setting, right? If you steal a car and you work for a car stealing agency, that's not a story. If you steal a car but you're a stockbroker, that's a story. Context is everything.
Fantastic. So where have you seen some of these stories or contexts? Who have you seen that's doing it well? Or what are some of the stories that you've told over the last couple of years that you think have resonated?
One of my favorite stories at Duquesne over the last few years. So we're well known for our health professions and how they align in various ways. We're also a Catholic Spiritan institution. And the Spiritans were an interesting group because they were really missionaries for the Catholics. They came to Pittsburgh, committed to helping immigrant populations succeed. They didn't know if they were going to dig wells or build businesses, but they ended up building a university because education was key. And so they're very committed to community. And so that infuses the school. So I'm getting to the story. That was the exposition. So we had a young man graduate with a master's degree in one of our health administration programs. He had been in a near-fatal car accident. They didn't think he would walk again. They didn't think he would speak. I mean, for a while, I think he was, they were worried he was going to be brain dead. Well, he lived, and I was there to watch him walk to receive his diploma, thank his professors, who really came together in ways beyond just accommodations for class, but checked on him and so forth. And when the president gave him a medal from the university for his tenacity. We had news there, media. I'm a mess with these things. But it was a great story, I think, not just of academic achievement and not just of his commitment to the health services based on his own past, but of really this community coming together for him.
For people that when they hear the word storytelling and they feel intimidated by it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you're a writer.
Yep.
You live in that world.
Yep.
What are some of the things, I've often heard the things like there are only 7 stories.
So the archetype thing, Joseph Campbell sort of idea.
Yeah.
So true. I think what it's easier for most people to realize is a story has usually 3 legs.
Okay.
Right? There's the situation that presents the challenge that leads to whatever resolution.
Yeah.
And so you can tell a story in 6 words. Right? The most famous one is one of Hemingway, or a famous one is one of Hemingway's. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. Right? So it doesn't have to be long.
Yeah.
A quote itself can be, I came here to this school because my mom did this and now I do that. Can suggest situation, challenge, resolution. Yeah. So as long as you have all 3 legs of the stool, implicit in a photograph, a quote, a testimonial, or a full-blown magazine feature, you're telling a story.
That's fantastic. And they have so much power. Like you tell the story there, the emotion.
Right.
It's one of the things that get it through. So one of the things, I went back through the podcast that you were on last year, and you were talking about tactics and trends and how you actually interact with students. One of the things was chatbots and AI.
Right.
How is that manifested? Are you using them at Duquesne? Because you made a quote, you said something like, everyone's disappointed because of the technology or something.
Right. It's like, I think I said something to the effect of, and I say this a lot, I'm not worried about the robot takeover because every time I go through the self-checkout at the grocery store, the robots will never win. Okay. Or whenever I deal with a chatbot. So we do use some of that AI on our website.
Okay.
When our new enrollment VP came in, he brought it in. I'm still skeptical, but I do know, though, that for some pretty simple transactional tasks, it can help a person get to where they need to be faster. Yeah. We're in the middle of redoing our website that will hopefully obviate the need for those chatbots.
Yeah.
Don't judge us by our website right now. But I think they have a transactional purpose. They are not an engagement purpose. Now, what they can do is they can give us a hot lead, right? Now, suddenly we have an IP, we can retarget, we can do some other things. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I understand their
place.
pragmatic role.
Yeah. You're building your new website. It's funny, we've seen a lot of RFPs from websites, and the new trend that I see in these RFPs is looking for personalization.
Right.
Or how to bring personalization into a website. Is that something that's on your radar, or?
It is, largely because we're working to structure the website so that there's a lot of optional components for the builders.
Okay.
So that the more they learn about their audience, they can turn a component off, turn a component on. We're not probably going to be at the space where the user can build the website more easily, but there will be a lot of engagement ability for the user to quickly find what is needed, to quickly, ask for information, ask for a request, fill out a form, or just share something like that. So it's not going to be the sort of choose your own adventure, build my own portal.
Yeah.
We have some of those for different actions. Because, of course, the personalization is important, but it has to serve many people. Enrollment first, but many other people as well.
And that personalization, one of the other fears or you hear from marketers when they're building a new website, they talk about personalization.
Right.
It's then the amount of content that you need to create for that.
Absolutely.
What's some of the challenges that you find, when you're thinking about a new website, how have you thought about the content? Or
Well, we've been thinking a lot about the content. It's probably what keeps me and my team up the most is filling that need. One of the conversations here at CUPRAP during this conference was, if you continue down the content race, trying to ever create more content, rather than focus on evergreen content that provides information that can be moved around in different contexts, and look at, are the people who you want to engaging in ways that you want to see? And that's why, so that's why a couple of years ago, a lot of alumni magazines, or a lot of view books, took graduation years out, right? Because no one cares if the student is a sophomore or a senior or just graduated to some degree, because the story is still vital and relevant. Similarly, we want to make sure that the content, if it's a good story, it can be useful in a variety of contexts, knowing that if a reader comes to it through student life or comes to it through academics, it'll still matter, relevant to the experience they just had.
It's funny in the sense that you're right, that content race. But the thing is, universities sometimes are awash with content. They're actually producing so much content. And it's almost the governance of...
And that, so you just hit the magic word. And that's what we've been talking a lot. We're working with OHO Interactive on our website. And governance has been a huge part of the conversation. Not just for the website, but what we're seeing is it begins to suggest exactly what you're talking about, Kevin. Just how do you govern the amount of information, and what do you just let go? And so I'll give you an example, right? When you move from sort of being the in-house Kinkos to being a strategic marketing communications partner, my office would for years produce the annual human resources benefits catalog, right? A vendor can do that.
Sure.
You're not telling engagement stories in the benefits catalog. It's important. Don't get me wrong. We should vet the right vendor. We should bring that person in. But we should be spending our time telling stories and working on that kind of high impact content, and letting those other things move.
Well, it was an interesting thing that the Jeff Selinko keynote yesterday. He spoke about, hey, you've really got to think about what are you doing, what should you be doing, and what should you be letting go, or letting a partner go. And it's a great example of that. One of the points that he brought up then was about marketers being at the table helping to influence the product or the educational experience. And I'm interested, where are you in that?
Where I am now, so I was the first vice president of marketing and communications. The new President Gormley, created the position at Duquesne because they hadn't had someone at the cabinet level. It's one of the typical situations that reported up through advancement. I mean, often in higher ed, it's through advancement or enrollment. He decided we needed that position at the table.
Fantastic.
We also got a new enrollment VP recently. Our provost is very aware of making sure, what should the program mix be? What might it be later? And so we are having these conversations as a group. In fact, very recently, with the CFO, the provost, myself, enrollment, we went to sort of an alignment, sort of day-long conference to talk about how are we going to align these things. And so he's absolutely right. We can be using market research of various kinds to look at those those demand areas, and ways that we can optimize. In fact, that's one of the reasons Duquesne launched an osteopathic medical school. Our strategic plan was looking for a simulation hospital because we have a nursing school, it's very, very strong. We have a health sciences school, a pharmacy school, and our provost, who's an epidemiologist, said, why not go one further? If we're going to build the hospital, why wouldn't we have the program? And so that we asked around, because Pittsburgh's famous for Pittsburgh's Pitts Med School, but ours is osteopathic. Talked, and they said, no, please, let's do it. And so we knew this would be an impactful program, and it's going great. The fundraising is going great. The local support of it is going well, government foundations and so forth. So it is a great example, I think, of positioning, a community-based Catholic missionary kind of behavior with an academic program that's in demand, that fits with us in our region, and that should attract students, and also attract it to other areas because of that show of strength.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really think universities or institutions that bring that marketing team into that cabinet level, so they get the information, the feedback in, they're the institutions that are going to thrive.
Right, so that if we're going to promote our groundbreaking, for instance, well, we'll know, okay, it's make sure you get that photo with the foundation head that was supported. Make sure you get that. So we took a drone photo, actually it was odd for a groundbreaking, of all the people down there with shovels, but then you could see the city setting all around it. You could see the vitality of where that building and that program would sit. So it's little choices like that when the marketing team is fully in the know, where they can think, okay, let's optimize this.
Yeah. So when you were back in the podcast in 21, middle of the pandemic, there was talk about the new normal, back to normal. What's it like now? What's working at a higher ed institution for the marketing team like?
So I think, for me, one of the things we learned during the pandemic, we knew parent communication was important, but it really became, it really reified its importance. And I think also in the enrollment stream. And so we heard recently from folks at FIA here in Pennsylvania that they're hearing more and more about mental wellness and support being ratcheting up among the criteria for students looking. And so we moved to a parent portal. We brought in a partner to do that. We've increased our parent communication. We're doing a better job trying to align our student life messaging to parents as well as to students themselves, obviously. And I think we've seen some real dividends with that. We see less sort of explosive rumor mill stuff on parents' proprietary Facebook pages and things of that nature, and a greater ability to. They should have those spaces to vent. Absolutely, I vent on my daughter's car. But the ability to get to them and get to them quickly, and so new normals often end up looking sort of like the old normals, and we're headed right back to that now, I think. But we have better tools for communication, better tools for engagement. I know it's a buzzword, but people forget the communication's two-way, so we go to engagement.
What's it like for your team, though? Are you working hybrid? Are you all back on campus?
So we're a little bit hybrid.
That's great.
If you're going to be a marketer and you don't live in the product that you're marketing, that's kind of weird. So we work partially on campus, partially off. We sort of had done that anyway. If someone needed a creative time, they might go to the library or they might stay home. So we just have, it's a little bit more legislated now, which gives everybody the right protections to do that. But it's been great. And now that we're back, we've been back in session for a while, but when you walk out of the office, that's where you hit the stories. And so you can work remote, but you're not going to hear stories in your living room. You're going to hear them, on academic walk.
You know what? I think it's the challenge, because I think that, commercial companies have obviously gone to a hybrid or a more remote working, but being on campus, the immersion, you're there, that's where the stories are happening.
Well, think about it, right? It's what we're selling, forgive me, academics, is a lifestyle product. If we were selling, food, or if we were selling, software or whatever, you might be able to get away with not being there because you could have the product at your house. You cannot have the education product at your house. It won't fit in a box. It's a lifestyle. You got to live it and be able to talk about it.
That's great. Anyway, Gabe, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks
really
for being back
this.
on the podcast.
Great to be here.
Hopefully have you back on in 2022.
We'll be happy to do that. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for being a CUPRAP and for your support of the organization. It's
not at all. We've been here now for 4 or 5 years. We love it. It's almost like being part of the family. Regular faces. So it's been great to be back in person, because it was the last conference we were at before the lockdown. So
same here.
Great to be back.
I owe a lot to this organization. I think it's the best for higher ed in the country.
It's fantastic. I always comment, it's really engaging. You get to know everybody, the speakers, and the program is fantastic.